Assalamualaikum, very good morning and good day to all our friends. Thank you and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. It's a great to see participants joining from across Hong Kong, Singapore, and Malaysia. We really appreciate your time, your commitment to be part of this session. My name is Azhan Hasan. I'm a former advisor in climate change and sustainability at the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, Qatar, and currently is a founding advisor of the Global Advisory Alliance, and I am based in Malaysia. At GAA, we work with companies, investors, and public institutions. They are looking to turn climate and sustainability commitments into credible as well as practical action. Across Asia, we are seeing growing pressure on companies to set science-based targets. At the same time, many organizations are still working through how to build the internal capability as well as technical expertise needed to do this well. Questions around data, governance, resourcing, and the role of external advisor are becoming increasingly common. This is why we are very pleased to be hosting today's session in collaboration with the Science-Based Target Initiative. This webinar will focus on SBTi certification and explore how companies and advisors can work together effectively to overcome net zero challenges. With that, I'm delighted to hand over to my colleague, Maddie from SBTi, who will share the session and introduce our high esteemed speaker for tonight. And thank you, and over to you, Maddie.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Azhan. If we can head to the next slide, Carol, and we'll stay on that slide for a little while. So thank you so much. We're really excited to be here today to speak about the SBTi certification and to speak about what's really kind of needed from the region and what support we can give you here at SBTi. So I'm from SBTi. I'm the Learning and Development Specialist. So I'll be kind of taking us through what that looks like and what learning offerings we've got at SBTi. And I'm joined by my colleague Juliette, and I'll level them to introduce themselves in just a moment. So really today we're focusing on the countries listed, so Hong Kong, Singapore, and Malaysia. So please, throughout the webinar today, you can ask any questions throughout the Q&A section. This webinar will also be recorded if you need to translate any parts of the session today or get a transcription for any needs that are needed there. So it will be split into two parts. The first part will be a regional landscape overview and the practitioner's perspective. So we're joined by Juliette to give us that kind of understanding of what's happening from SBTi, and we're joined by Sonic, who is our first SBTi certified expert based in Singapore, to really hear about what it has been like to go through the SBTi certification. So we'll find out where SBTi is today and how our engagement is evolving across Asia. And then we'll talk a little bit about technical challenges and capability gaps, and then why the SBTi certification was developed and how it supports quality and credibility. And then about halfway through, about 30 minutes into the session, we'll be joined by our third speaker, Sorouch, who is the Global Head of Sustainability for Schneider Electric. And he will help us to go through a company perspective and a company experience of working with the science-based targets. So maybe why companies commit to science-based targets, what implementation looks like on the ground, and then lessons from operating across multiple markets and supply chains. So we'll finish up a kind of short wrap up and share with you how you can get in touch with us at the end of the session. This session, as I mentioned, will be delivered in English, and we'll share the slides and transcription after if you do any translation at all. Amazing. So I'm just going to quickly allow our two panelists that are on for the moment to introduce themselves. So I'll hand over to you first, Juliette, and then to you, Sonic, just to share quickly what you do and how your work connects to Asia with a particular focus on Hong Kong, Singapore, and Malaysia, or global organizations operating in the region. If I can hand it to you first, Juliette.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Maddie. Hi, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today. My name is Juliette Briey, and I'm a senior buildings analyst within the target validation team at SBTi Services. And the SBTi has seen an incredible growth in the past 2 to 3 years in validated Asian companies, and Asia now represents the continent with the most validated targets. So I'm really looking forward to today's discussion to delve more into that.
Amazing, thank you so much. You're happy to introduce yourself too, Sonic?
Sure, thank you so much. First of all, it's my pleasure to join the webinar. Hello, everyone. My name is Sonic, and I work as the intersection of corporate accounting, target setting, and some real-world implementation. I'm currently based in Singapore. I've spent the last few years supporting companies across APAC on sustainability reporting, from Scope 1 to Scope 3 emission, and also science-based targets. I also happen to be the first SBTi-certified professional in Singapore. And for me, the certification wasn't just about the theory, it's really changed how I support organizations at different maturity levels, especially when it comes to Scope 3 and some internal capability building. So, hope to see more sustainability professionals in Singapore, in APAC, taking the certification and joining the SBTi professional community. Thank you so much. Over to you, Maddie.
Thank you so much, both. It's really great to have that introduction. So if you're thinking right now, what is the SBTi certification? We'll get onto that a little bit further into the session, and we'll share some further details with you. But today we'll start off with setting the scene. So what is going on with science-based targets at the moment? So I'll head to you first, Juliette, to start us off. Could you give us maybe a bit of an overview of where SBTi is globally today, and how engagement and adoption is evolving across Asia? You mentioned that we're growing really, really strongly in the past couple of years, but with a particular focus on the companies that we're chatting about today. It would be really great to just have an overview of that, and maybe if there are any sectoral or regional trends emerging as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I might also start with a quick introduction to the SBTi, just in case people don't know who we are, if that's okay with everyone. So the SBTi, or the Science-Based Targets Initiative, is a corporate climate action organization that helps companies and financial institutions take credible science-aligned action on climate change. So our mission is to ensure that organizations can decarbonize at a pace that is consistent with what science is telling us is necessary to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. The SBTi itself is actually structured as two organizations. So we have the SBTi charity, which develops the standards, the tools, and the guidance that companies and financial institutions use to set their science-based targets. And then we have SBTi services, where I sit, and this operates the target validation service, where we assess and validate companies and financial institutions' targets against SBTi criteria, as well as the GHGP. So when the SBTi was first founded, the goal was to encourage about 100 companies to set targets in line with climate science. And as of the 22nd of January, we now have 10,000 companies that are validated worldwide, which is incredible. It's just been very exciting time at the SBTi. So we have seen remarkable regional momentum, especially in Asia. So Asia has emerged as a major driver of growth, with the number of validated companies increasing by about 134% from 2023 to about mid to end 2025. Within that, we've noticed that China has led the way as the fastest growing country for science-based targets within the reporting period, but that is closely followed by Thailand, Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Malaysia, which is very exciting. As a result, Asia has become a powerful amplifier of climate ambition, catalyzing a ripple effect of science-based target setting across supply chains and sectors. So going into sector trends, Maddie. So we've noticed that industrials, which covers manufacturers and distributors of capital goods, led all the sectors and a number of companies that have set science-based targets, with over 50% of these industrial sector total targets being validated during 2024 and the first half of 2025. Within that, we've noticed that consumer discretionary, so this is essentially automobiles, auto parts manufacturers, household durable goods, apparel producers, etc., and the materials sector as well, have remained the largest sectors by total number of companies with targets. So these figures really demonstrate the scale and urgency of global corporate climate action and the vital role that the SBTi plays in supporting and guiding that transition, with a major focus on Asia.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And we'll get throughout the session today in the Q&A or in the chat as well. Please let us know if there's areas that you would love to see SBTi involved in. This is a kind of focus for us at the moment. We would love to be able to provide more to companies, support, etc., and to really see where is needed, what support is needed on the ground. So please do get in contact with us, and we will put some contact details at the end for that side of things. Amazing. Thank you so much, Juliette, for giving us that introduction into who the SBTi are, what's happening on the ground, and the growth in the region as well. It's really great to see that. So we'll head over to Sonic for, next. From your perspective, what are the biggest challenges companies and practitioners face when engaging with SBTi? So we know that there are a lot of companies now starting to engage with us, and especially 2024. So the biggest challenges companies and practitioners face when engaging with SBTi, particularly around things like data availability, scope 3 emissions, and submitting targets for validation.
Thank you so much for your question. Yeah, your question is mainly about the biggest challenge for the companies. And what I am seeing on the ground is that across Singapore or probably other places in APAC, the challenge is no longer whether the company want to align with SBTi. That was quite a few kind of years ago. But right now, the real challenge is how to do it. How to do it properly without kind of creating internal challenge or public credibility risk. So if I may, I'm going to summarize the challenge for 4 things. So the first thing is regarding to data availability, quality, especially for scope 3. Most organizations still rely very heavily on secondary data, or probably on estimation, or probably on some incomplete coverage. This is quite normal. Actually, it's not an issue, but it will become a problem when the team are waiting for the perfect data before they start. To be honest, there's no such a thing of a perfect data. But that kind of mindset, that kind of hesitation to waiting for the perfect data, this kind of mindset can prevent us from getting started, can also delay getting the target validated by month. So this is the first challenge, which is regarding to the data. And the second challenge is regarding to the scope 3 boundary. So this is, well, we heard about the challenge about scope 3 all the times. And this is where even experienced target will get stuck. Deciding what to include, what is material, what to prioritize, like categories, or probably how to explain those choices to external teams. What I see from the ground is that collecting supplier data, probably for upstream emission, is definitely challenging. In the meanwhile, downstream emissions is often underestimated. For some example, like category 11, use of soap product emissions can catch many companies by surprise because probably people usually will estimate much lower than that. And the third challenge, so it's regarding to technical interpretation gaps. It is never about people are not capable, but sometimes because for SBTi criteria, sector guidance, or probably GHG protocol themselves, the rules are very detailed, and sometimes it keep evolving. So small misinterpretation, like probably excluding a category, assuming it to be immaterial, could also become a potential roadblock during the validation journey. And the fourth challenge is about shifting the mindset from one-off validation to ongoing governance. Because for many early adopter, many companies, they are hitting to a 5 years target review point. And this is when the company realized SBTi is never a one-time project. It's not a project, you've done it, you take it, and you leave it behind. Instead, it is an ongoing governance. Company must revisit it regularly to ensure you are in the right track of decarbonization. And some internal systems are not exactly designed to regularly check on internal decarbonization process. So this is where some company will face challenge with it because the system inside the company are designed for one-off projects, not for an ongoing governance, not for an ongoing validation for the long time. So these are the 4 challenges I see in a real life. So if I may give some advice, I think we can start from a mindset shift. Start now, improve later. Because the bottleneck is never a technical skills. Because we can do our research online, we have a group of professionals in the call, we have SBTi team to help you. You have a lot of external resources for you to leverage. So if you are considering to submit SBTi targets, don't let your perfectionism stop you from doing the right thing. So if I may suggest, open the submission form early, fill up what you know, and start identifying the gaps intentionally. And if you do that, you can definitely move faster, feel less fear, and avoid last-minute surprises when you submit SBTi. So that is my simple advice to everyone. If you want to do it, start now, and we can slowly improve later as a community altogether. So this is everything from me. So thank you so much, Maddie, for your questions. Over back to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was a really fantastic overview and gave us really solid 4 things to focus on and to start changing our mindset, as you mentioned. So thank you so much for that. Amazing. So as we mentioned at the start, Sonic is one of the first certified experts globally. So there's only 100 of these experts globally now. So it's a really amazing community to be part of, such a small community as well. And if you're an organization that doesn't know where to start, speaking to a certified expert is a really, really great place to go because they've been tested on so many different areas around SBTi and they know SBTi maybe even better than myself. So really, really great to have you on Sonic today. So next, we're just going to have a quick shift into looking at that technical expertise. So you said a lot about that mindset and why that's so important to just start now and improve later. So Juliette, in your perspective, have you seen a demand for technical expertise evolve in the region as more organizations are committing to science-based targets, especially when we have things like varying levels of internal climate capability across the region?
Thank you, Maddie. And I completely agree with what Sonic was saying just now. I think the SBTi and coming to the SBTi to validate your targets is just one step on a sustainability journey. It's not just about setting the targets and then you're done. It does take a lot of effort. It takes a lot of internal alignment. So yeah, my perspective is very much SBTi focused, what we experience from the target validation team perspective. And it does very much have to do with technical expertise. And as your question indicated, Maddie, we have seen quite a significant increase in this demand in the past few years, especially with this incredible growth that we've seen in the Asia market in the past couple of years. So yeah, from the perspective of SBTi services, one of the biggest challenges that we encounter during the validation process is that complexity of GHG inventory reporting that Sonic was talking about just earlier. So it's, again, things that he's mentioned, but incomplete inventories. And it's especially true for scope 3 categories, which can be incredibly overwhelming, especially when you don't have primary data or can't get primary data from downstream categories, such as categories 10 or 12 or even 11. So one important thing to note is that during the validation process, the SBTi isn't trying to catch you out when we ask questions, because there will be quite a lot of back and forth. We're just trying to ensure alignment of the GHGP and our criteria. It is meant to be a collaboration. We do want you to succeed in setting these targets. So we do allow high-level estimates, for example, for these categories that are really difficult to calculate or get primary data for. And for teams with limited capacity, aligning inventories with the GHG protocol can be really overwhelming. So that really highlights the need for stronger technical support. But yeah, another frequent issue that we see during the validation process is organizational boundary coverage, for example. We still see cases where not all entities within a company's boundary are included within their GHG inventory. And both the GHGP and SBTi standards are quite clear that all entities must be accounted for. But again, this is very difficult to estimate if, for example, you don't have primary data for an entity. So this is an area where additional technical guidance is often needed. And then moving beyond just the GHG inventory, interpreting the specific requirements of SBTi standards can be quite challenging. So what we notice, for example, is a lot of confusion around supplier and customer engagement targets. So many companies struggle with the relationship between ambition and coverage. The new validation portal that was launched in June has helped clarify some areas of confusion, but that underlying understanding of how this ambition and coverage works together can be quite confusing. So this is why demand for technical expertise can still remain quite high. And then other things within SBTi standards would be, for example, sector-specific target setting methods for specific sectors such as flag, buildings, power, automaker, pathways. A lot of companies are unaware that this may be applicable to them, and having that technical expertise would help avoid the confusion during the validation process. And then one final thing was just linked to executive buy-in. So this plays quite a critical role in your sustainability journey, as well as when you set targets with the SBTi. So during the validation process, updates to inventories may be required, targets may be needed to be adjusted, or may need to be added based on sector-specific requirements, and therefore senior leadership approval is often needed. So having that technical expertise from the start will help avoid the back and forth, for example, with senior leadership, and having a clear idea of what your targets need to be from the start. So yeah, I think all these points kind of lead to this technical expertise, which is really required prior to the validation process and during the validation process as well, to understand why these changes are required.
Amazing, thanks so much. So yeah, definitely we see that as growth for setting science-based targets in the region increases, we need that technical expertise on the ground, really understanding like regional differences and company differences as well. So yeah, we're really excited to see that there is a lot of certified experts in the region now. So we've definitely seen this growth across the couple of months. So we only launched the SBTi certification in September. So we are still very new, which is a very exciting area to first get involved with us now, because you as an individual can shape the future of what the SBTi certification looks like too, as this small group of professionals worldwide that are able to contact us directly and to speak with us directly. They are shaping what the certification will look like as it grows as well. So what we'll do now is give you a little bit of a quick deep dive into what the SBTi certification is, and then we'll hear about Sonic's experience of going through it and maybe some of his best tips, maybe, if he's willing to share some. So if we can head to the next slides, Carol, and I'm just going to run through these quick slides just so that you've got some visuals to go with this. So as we mentioned, the SBTi certification launched in September, and the reason that the SBTi certification launched was to address this gap of what we've just mentioned about, of lots of growth in different parts all across the world, and then the need for that technical expertise. And we know as SBTi that there are these amazing professionals that are all across the world that have a lot of knowledge on the SBTi and a lot of knowledge of our standards, of the validation process. So we thought the best way to showcase who these individuals are is to create a very challenging examination for them so that they can go through and prove their expertise. So now, as I mentioned, we're at about 100 experts worldwide, and the certification launched as a product, as a wider product, which is the SBTi Academy. So if right now maybe you're on the webinar and you're thinking, it seems like I need to know a lot of information to be able to do the certification, that's okay, because there are other places that you can go to first. So we have the onboarding hub and the practitioners hub that are more entry level understanding of the science-based targets. So they would take you through things like understanding the basics of science-based targets, understanding GHG protocol, understanding how to model targets and things like this. So there are trainings that we've got to give you an introductory level. So I wanted to share this slide to show you that the SBTi certification wasn't launched as a one product on its own. It was launched as a big product that we're really trying to enable people all across the world to be able to learn more about the SBTi and how to set targets. If we can head to the next slide. Amazing. So here's a little bit of an overview of what our training does offer. So all on the left-hand side, those that are in purple, the onboarding hub, are completely free to access. So at any time you can go into here, you can learn about how to start setting your target journey, how to understand technical concepts. These are all online trainings as well. So at any time you can start, you can finish another day. The practitioners hub on the left-hand side, we have three free modules. So the exploring GHG protocol, exploring corporate near-term targets, and exploring corporate net zero targets. These are all free access as well. So you can start here, and maybe this is something that you want to work with your team on to develop these side of things. So all you would need to go to is just search the Science-Based Targets Academy, and you'll see this, and you can create an account for free to log into this account. So as I mentioned, those three areas, so the onboarding hub for newcomers that just want to have that kind of initial understanding of the science-based targets. The practitioners hub is maybe for those that are working with SBTi but haven't yet set a target. And then the certification comes in at that third stage for those experts that are ready to test their knowledge. So if we can head to the next slide, Carol. Amazing. So as I've mentioned a little bit about, you've heard little snippets of what the certification is. So what it is a formal 7-part assessment. So there are 7 sections that you will be examined on. And this is to show your proficiency of applying science-based target standards, GHG protocol, and the requirements of the target validation process. So it's intended for sustainability, climate, and ESG consultants, or in-house professionals working directly with their own corporate to set those climate-based targets. So you could be a freelance consultant, or you could be a consultant working for various different organizations, or somebody that's working in-house as well. So if we can just head to the next slide. So as I mentioned, the biggest driver for us is to create this engaged and activated network of experts all across the world, and as well to help us with higher quality submissions of your knowledge has been tested against lots of different questions and assessments. So we expect the application to be a lot higher quality and to really help us work through that validation process much more quickly. Then one of the nice things that you get is this badge to confirm that you are an SBTi certified expert. So you can use this in your work, your professional work, your LinkedIn, and share this kind of widely to showcase that you are aligned with science-based targets. If we can head to the next slide. So these are the 7 areas that you're tested on for the certification. And this very much looks very different in each one. So you could have case studies that you're asked to do calculations for. You could have multiple choice questions. They could be ranging from 1 hour up to 2-hour examinations. And again, all hosted online so that you can do these at your leisure. So they really model the layout of the target validation process, everything from creating that GHG inventory that we spoke about, of finding that data, how best to gather that data and what that looks like, all the way through to answering validation questions and post-validation requirements. You can head to the next slide. Great. So as I mentioned, it's mostly multiple choice, but there are some questions that are requiring calculation or choosing the kind of best option. You will get 2 attempts per section. So if you fail on the first attempt, you will get a second try to try that. And we've mentioned that there are 7 parts to the assessment. In order to prepare for this assessment, you can do some of the training, but we also provide the readiness pack. And this pack will help you understand what you need to know, where to find that information, and what resources to use throughout your examination. And there is also a very large reading list as well. So it's definitely something to do if you like reading. There is also a kind of few examples throughout the assessment that are simulated GHG data side of things, and company profiles as well to go through. Awesome. So if we can head to the next slide. Great. And where you'll be able to find these certified experts is on the SBTi website for certification. So all you just need to Google is SBTi certification and it will come up. On this site, you will find about 100 certified experts globally. So maybe right now you're thinking, I'm not ready for certification just yet, but my organization really wants to go through the science-based targets validation process. So maybe we go and find a certified expert that's in your country or in your region that you'd like to speak to about the process, and potentially working with them as well. So you'll find this on the register of experts. We head to the next slide. Amazing. And everybody always wants to know, how much does it actually cost to do this? So we will be giving a discount today for 10%, and the discount code will be in the next slide. And but with the standard package, which is our typical package, there's no need to purchase the premium package unless you would like that one-to-one support. They're both the exact same certification. They give you the exact same badge at the end of the day. So as I mentioned, 2 attempts, you get access to the premium modules that were the paid for modules, and you were listed in the certified experts register. The premium side, the one-to-one access, is for an individual or a company that are looking to help other companies through the science-based targets, but they maybe need support on particular questions that they don't understand, and so they would like that kind of consultancy with SBTi going forward. Amazing. Next slide, please. So you can use this QR code to scan to get to our website, where you'll find that register of certified experts, and you'll find the link to join the academy so that you can go in, you can start your certification, you can play around and see what you'll be tested on. So this is the code, GAA10, and you can book a meeting with us directly if you'd like to find out more information, or if you'd like to enroll 5 or more team members. We can do that as a bulk onload instead of you creating your own account. So you can find that information out on this site. So our email is just certification@sciencebasedtargets.org. So you can find more information on that side of things. So with that in mind, then I'm going to just head back to the next slide, please, Carol. We'll just wrap up this section that is around kind of how we're engaging the professional landscape, what's happening on the ground. So I'm going to head to you, Sonic, just to give your opinion, as you have completed the full SBTi certification process and you are our first person to do it in Singapore. So I'd just love to know, before we open up the conversation more broadly, I see that we have Sorouch on the call with us now, and we'll be going on to speak about more broadly of company engagement and what's happening more broadly with SBTi. But I'd love to hear about your experience on it with this certification, and maybe why you chose to do it, and how it's been relevant for you now supporting clients and companies.
Okay, thank you, Maddie, for your question. So your question is about why I decided to pursue the certification and how I changed after I got the certification, how I changed the way I support the organization. So my motivation very straightforward. It's about being practical. So working with a lot of organization at different maturity levels, and notice something very consistent is about the biggest roadblock is lacking of confidence. I saw a lot of teams. They are very capable. They have invested a lot of efforts into climate strategy, but somehow they will got stuck on probably like the boundary definition or probably scope 3 data collection interpretation, or probably they were stuck because they don't know exactly how SBTi validation decisions are actually made. So that kind of situation actually triggered me. I want to really dive in and understand more about SBTi from the inside out, like how the target is being evaluated by SBTi team, where the submission commonly fail, or probably on how criteria are applied in real validation scenarios. So those are the very practical reason why I wanted to pursue SBTi certification. And in terms of after I got a certification, how the certification changed my approach when helping those companies. The biggest shift was about the knowledge, it's about the structure, it's about the confidence. So before I got the certification, the advice was based on experience and best practice. And after getting the certification, advice is more grounded in terms of how SBTi actually evaluates targets. So the changes how I support organization in different levels. Probably for some early stage companies, I focus on building a defensible foundation like boundaries, data logic, and decision disciplines. And for advanced company, the focus shift to more about credibility under scrutiny and 5 years review of public governance and align with the evolving standards. So even I'm not leading a full SBTi submission, sometimes it's done by the company themselves. The certification will really help me to kind of like reshape how I think about the emission measurements, internal control, and also future science-proof decarbonization pathway. So for anyone in a call considering taking the certification, I will also circle back to my previous quote where stuck now and improve later, where I do have my personal tips when it comes to get the certification done, where we are all very busy professional with our own job on daily basis. So what I did is I set my weekend morning. That is my time. My only thing to do is to complete SBTi exam modules. So there are 7 modules. So I spend 7 days over the weekend. And every time I just go through all the training material to remind myself to brush up my knowledge in SBTi, in GHG protocol before I take the exam. And no need to worry, you have your second chance. So you can just kind of quickly read through those training materials, have a refresher, and then take the exam, and you will know exactly where are you missing and where is the knowledge gap. And you can also quickly go back to the materials to realize, this is something I missed. This is something I could improve. This is something my knowledge gap is. So you can take the second exam. So do it now, and we can always improve later. This will be my echoing quotes today. So thank you so much, Maddie, for your question. Off back to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, I hope that we all remember that that we don't need to aim for perfection and we can get started. Okay, fab. To wrap us up this section, Julia, I'm just going to ask you to quickly summarize for us so we can head on to the second part of the session today about how does the SBTi certification help to improve the quality, consistency, and credibility of our target setting. So you are the person that's behind the scenes dealing with the target setting. So you're the perfect person to ask this question to. So yeah, if you're able to just quickly summarize for us, and then we can head on to the next part.
Absolutely. So as we previously mentioned, there are currently many gaps or gray areas within GHG reporting. So the certification program really helps formalize a growing ecosystem of practitioners who are already working with the SBTi to help standardize the reporting mechanisms and to also help standardize the quality of the reporting. So the certification itself does help bridge that gap that we've already spoken about, and it does ensure alignment during the validation process. It can reduce the delays, for example, during the validation process, meaning your targets could be validated a lot faster. And yeah, no, in general, I think we're all aware that the sustainability sector it's evolving at a really, really fast pace, and it can be really hard to stay on top of updates to the requirements. So having that certification program in place means that we are all on the same page, and that these gray areas are clarified, and in turn can lead to strong, achievable science-based targets based on representative GHG inventories.
Amazing. Thanks so much. Perfect. So what we'll do now is we'll head on to hear from Sorouch, who's joined us to give us a company experience of the implementation and what does that look like. So we'll head over to you, and I just have the first kind of question for you here, and then we've got a couple of questions for Sorouch and his experience, and then we'll head back to all the panelists at the end to give us a kind of wrap up of how we can better collaborate together in this area. So Sorouch, what kind of motivated your organization to commit science-based targets? And maybe how did the regulatory, investor, or maybe stakeholder expectations influence that decision? Would love to hear from you in that perspective.
Yes, so nice to meet you all. I will introduce also myself super quickly. So my
Yes,
name
please.
is Sorouch. I'm based in Singapore and I work for Schneider Electric. I actually manage sustainability, looking more at, let's say, our business ecosystem. So the title might be confusing. I'm not the Chief Sustainability Officer. She's actually sitting in Paris, and her name is Esther Finidori. But long story short, I think when you look at the story of SBTi, and SBTi has been, I would say, a reference for a while now. And you remember when, 10 years ago, you had that many different frameworks existing, and long story short, it was a headache to choose which framework to follow. It's still to some extent the case, even though you still have a consolidation that is happening. But I think SBTi is one of the frameworks that went through and is now globally recognized. So when you look, be it from our customers or our investors, they are looking for SBTi linked commitments, and that's because the methodology, as the name indicates, is science-based and very well respected and now established in the market. So for us, there was no way we would not follow the SBTi framework. Now, when it comes to regulations and let's say customer or shareholder requirements, the way I see it is that well, those requirements have just increased with time, and they will continue increasing with time. And I mean, I think if we're all around that call, is that to some extent we believe that climate change is a reality, so there is no question about that. And when you look at the trend of climate change, we can all assume that what we face today is we're in a better shape that will be in 5 years and in 10 years. So long story short, those frameworks are useful for companies really to assess their materiality and look at where it is that we are at risk. It's also a way for us to also clearly communicate what we're doing to our customers and our shareholders with commitments that are based on the different elements that make a sustainability journey in order to communicate clearly to the markets how serious we are. And I would say in Schneider, we also make a point of going beyond pure regulatory requirements today, because we see that those will anyway get more stringent as we go. And we have at heart, and you know that we've been nominated #1 sustainability company a couple of times, actually a few times across the past few years. We aim even to anticipate future regulations by going beyond and doing what we think is right for the planet and for people, even before, let's say, it's captured by regulations. Does that answer the question?
Yes, absolutely, it does. Thank you so much. That was such a great answer. And with your experience there, maybe looking back at what you've been through with the organization and setting science-based targets and those sort of things, and really driving sustainability definitely in your sector. What were the biggest challenges or maybe lessons that you learned here, and especially when operating across kind of multiple markets and global supply chains? Would love to hear your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there are many lessons, and there are only so many I can unpack in a short time. What I would say, what I would take as being the biggest lesson is that your materiality might differ from a region to another. The regulations you're exposed to might differ to a region to another. But all in all, I personally am a true believer that it's the role of the leadership of a company to look at what are the risks that are pertaining to a company's operating model. And sustainability is actually, if you think about it, the purpose is, of course, to reduce your footprint, but also to anticipate what are future risks and mitigate them. Make sure that if climate change continues to happen and even accelerates, we maintain a business model and an operating model, and one that is profitable and bringing value to the market, our customers, the shareholders, and so on. And what we're trying to do is even to go, let's say, the step beyond, which is how can we also help our customers do so? Because if we face these challenges, and we face challenges across different sustainability metrics, so do our customers. And for us, it's been a very intentional strategy to also figure out how we can help our customers on their own journey, looking really at, let's say, what we call energy tech, the way our customers power themselves and how they can do so in a way that is efficient as well as sustainable. And that's been, let's say, the journey that I think qualifies the best Schneider in the past 10 years, which is first really understanding what it means for us, and of course building on that. And I think now it's very much part of our DNA through, of course, the message of the leadership, but also trainings, education that we do with employees, and also going and embedding that as part of the business, which I think is a journey, and is a journey we're continuing to go through, and we're very committed to.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really, really great to hear. Maybe looking a bit more internally in organizations then. The next question I have was around, so we're trying to commit these targets, and we're trying to really kind of grow the capability of our organizations to be able to do that. And where does the role of internal training or even knowledge building, so where there's individuals in the organization that maybe have more knowledge around climate, more knowledge around science-based targets than others, and where does that play in sustaining climate ambition, particularly in those organizations where sustainability expertise varies across regions? I know that Schneider Electric is obviously across different regions, but huge amounts of departments as well, and different business functions. So we'd just love to hear your opinion on those sort of things as well. Oh, have we lost Sorouch? Maybe we have. Okay, awesome. What I'll do is I'll just enable Sorouch to head back in just a second. On the kind of internal training and knowledge building, we'll come back to that one. So just a question. Oh, there we go. We're back. Awesome. Did you hear the question, Sorouch?
I was disturbed by a call. But I'm happy to take the question if you can repeat it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So I was speaking about, moving from when the science-based targets are now growing across different regions, and especially where does the role of internal and knowledge building come into it? So as organizations, when we're trying to commit to these targets, and maybe we're trying to lead the agenda on sustainability, where does training and knowledge building come into this? And particularly in organizations where sustainability expertise varies across regions and across business functions as well.
This is not an easy question, but the way I see it is, if you look at the way we took our transformation, and we are still going through it, and I think for us the end game is to make sure that anyone who has a benefit not just needs to, but has a benefit to understand sustainability and how it aligns with its job, should learn. Okay. And today I would not say we are there, but we are very intentionally trying to go in that direction. The transformation, obviously, Sessmiti is very much a science, right? And the way you manage operations in the business is more. I mean, it's an art. I would say, of course, there is also, you know, allow me to use that simple image, but we really need to help basically everyone understand what it means for their own job, and it won't be the same depending on the job we work on, the type of let's say daily challenges you deal with, or even your responsibilities. So if you look first, and I assume most companies start usually by really looking at their own footprint, I think it starts really by investing in having the right skills to really understand, and the right expertise to really understand how you can actually make sure that whatever you do is, again, science-based. And the rationale is very simple, because if I may say, if you openly commit and aim to deliver, you need to make sure that you are actually doing, let's say, reasonable targets, achievable targets, still ambitious but achievable, and that you avoid at all costs greenwashing. And for us, like, that's a must. Okay, it's non-negotiable. And there is a reputational risk at, you know, doing that exercise without having, let's say, a strong expertise to back it up. Okay, but that expertise needs to also be built with the rest of the organization, and usually starting with the core that really has, let's say, a deep expertise in the topic and is able then to link it and spread it to the relevant functions. Is what we have done internally, and as we go wider and wider, we aim also to give a general understanding of the topic to all our employees. So we do actually have a Sessmiti school in Schneider that is aimed at really explaining the basics of climate change. What does Sessmiti mean for my job? If I am an HR, if I'm working in IT, if I'm in production, and so on. And actually, we also launched a Sessmiti school now, even for our customers and partners, which is actually called Sessmiti School for Partners. It's available for free, and you can look at it. It's something that we're doing, again, because we just think what we do should also be made available to those who want to learn and make and learn from us. So it's something we also build. And very often you'll see that I think it's more a question of having the right focus and the right mindset to get into the journey, and understanding also that journey is not necessarily something that is just a cost or just a burden. There is actually real business incentive into driving that journey, be it to make your company more resilient, but also to find new ways to operate, as planetary boundaries and climate change are going to just increase their pressure on operating models and business models.
Amazing, really fantastic answer, and a great summary for us to start to wrap up the session today. So thanks so much for that. Amazing. So as kind of closing question, I know we've only got 7 minutes or so. If you have any questions, please pop those in the Q&A so that we can get around to those, either answering them over typing or answering them out loud if we have a chance to. So maybe just to all of our panelists now, a kind of quick summary of how can stronger collaboration between advisors, companies, and SBTIs, so we have a mix of those on the call today, especially across borders in the region, help accelerate climate action as the kind of scale that is required to do so. Sonic, I'll head to you first on that question, if that's okay.
Okay, sure, definitely. Thank you so much, Maddie. So to answer your question, how can we collaborate? I need to emphasize, no single person can do this alone. We need to engage companies, advisor, and SBTi team as a community to accelerate the climate action at scale. So in APAC, actually collaboration matters the most, because our supply chain are always cross-border, especially for Singapore. We always cooperate with Malaysia, Indonesia, or more. And sustainability data lives in multiple places, and the urgency of climate action is rising faster than our regulation of each countries. So what effective collaboration looks like in practice, I would suggest for companies, you guys need to bring in institutional knowledge because you guys are the experts and bring us the operational reality and also the execution power. And for an advisor, we need to kind of like translate the science into a system, helping to prioritize to action and also remove some potential roadblock in terms of submitting the target. And for SBTi team, definitely you guys are the experts and you guys will translate the science into a common language, and so that our target can have more credibility and also it's a scientific anchored. So when we work together early, submission can move faster, target can be stronger, and the confidence can increase. So if we need to really have the climate action up to speed, we need to have fewer perfect plans. Nothing is perfect, no data is perfect. We need to start our journey now and adjust along the way. And internally, I would suggest probably we all can consider to leverage some credible system, some carbon accounting system or any other system is kind of like can help you in the journey, and also have much stronger collaboration across different borders, different countries. Because being a leader in this space does not mean that you need to have the highest climate targets. It's not a competition at all. It's about whether you can really execute, you can really review and adapt with confidence as a climate action, as the expectation rises in the market. So I need to circle back to my anchor today, which is let's start now and improve later. Thank you so much, Maddie.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sonic. That's definitely going to be our main takeaway from today. So thank you. Juliette, I'll head to you next. So around that kind of collaboration piece with advisors, companies, and SBTi of how we can improve that to really drive forward climate action.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just important to remember that we're all working towards the same goal. Just like Sonic said, it's not a competition of who like sets their target first, etc. It's such a wide ecosystem, the sustainability world, and there's so much to catch up with, and it can be overwhelming at times. So I think that collaboration really helps avoid that confusion. It helps bridge the gaps that we've already spoken about. And from an SBTi perspective, I mean, communicating with companies on essentially a daily basis in the target validation team, we do learn a lot from each other. It is that collaborative approach that helps make our standards stronger. It helps companies with their GHG inventories, making them more accurate, making their targets more achievable. And yeah, no, I think that collaboration is the way forward for sustainability as a whole.
Yeah,
Keeping it
I love
short.
that, and it's definitely something that we see growing, hopefully, across different regions and across different organizations as well. Awesome. Sorouch, if we've just got a chance, we would love to head and hear your opinion as well before we close up.
I would agree to what my two colleagues said. There is no way everyone, any company can do everything on its own. And I believe that sustainability is a topic that is of extreme complexity, but the good news is that we now understand better the science. We understand better the KPIs, if I would say, or the metrics to look at. And we also have much more knowledge available and also more tools. And I think AI is also now giving, of course, it's not the one thing that answers everything, but it's also something that helps bring more scale and more speed, as long as it's also backed with the right expertise and the right governance to take the right shots. So overall, I think that the capabilities are increasing, and now it's up to us to actually make the most of these and deliver as much as we can in the time we have.
Amazing. Thank you all so much. I want to just thank all the panelists today and for GAA for hosting us as well. We really appreciate it. And I hope that you've learned something today, and please do get in contact with us at SBTi. We would love to hear how we can best support organizations in the region. And as we have more team members that come on the ground, we would love to see how we can best work together. So please do keep this an open communication channel. So Azhan, I'll hand over to you for you to close up our session today. And thank you so much, panelists, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Maddie. Thank you for facilitating and guiding the discussion. And a big thank you to all of our esteemed speakers for today's session. To Sonic, Sorouch, and Juliette, once again, thank you for your valuable insight and for engaging with the participant question. We have seen a strong level of interest today, and while we may not have been able to address every question in detail, we very much encourage you to continue this discussion and conversation with us. With that in mind, for those who are interested, we are planning to organize a small by invitation roundtable for company in Hong Kong, Singapore, as well as Malaysia. This will be an opportunity for a more focused and practical exchange. Further detail will be shared shortly, and we encourage interested participants to reach out to us via LinkedIn or by email at team@globaladvisoryalliance.com. Once again, thank you all of you for joining us this evening, and we hope we can keep in touch for future engagement, and enjoy the rest of your day, and we see you again in our next session. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.